to Live Interactive English. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I'm Winnie.
And I am not 70 years old yet. Not quite, not quite. So I am not as old as Disneyland, but Disneyland is 70 years old. That's right, 1955, if my math is correct, was the year, and maybe it was even July 17th, 1955, the date that Walt Disney World, or Disneyland as it's officially called, in California opened its doors. And how many people do you think have been there? Millions? Billions?
Oh, I think we're in the billions.
Billions
probably,
of people have probably been there over the last 70 years. So yeah, they're gonna have a big celebration, a big festival, a big anniversary party to celebrate that.
Well, when I turn 70, I would like to have a big blowout.
I might go to Disneyland.
Ooh, okay.
Why not?
Well, as we know, Disneyland is, if I'm doing my math right, is a Cancer. That's their zodiac sign.
Oh, really?
July 17th.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, there you go.
If
meant to be.
any fellow Cancers, maybe you should celebrate your birthday in that month, because you have until 2026.
That's true. We learned that the festivities will be going on for a full year.
Right. So don't worry if you're just seeing this video now and finding out about it. Don't worry. We've got you covered, because you still got next year, 2026, to kind of go and celebrate with Disneyland, because they've got a lot of stuff to celebrate. They have new attractions and light shows, so you won't regret it.
That's right, and you can even go there and offer your own congratulations and birthday wishes to Walt himself, or at least a robot Walt. There will be a lifelike animatronic of Walt, and he will talk about Disneyland and tell his story, and maybe even answer some of your questions. Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
Like, why did he open Disneyland?
Yeah, or why is the Haunted Mansion so scary for young kids like it was for you?
And why did you let me go on it?
Yeah, have you ever been in the Haunted Mansion, Walt? It's terrifying. Yeah. These are good questions we need answers for. All right, well, we're going to give you more information about Disneyland coming up in our article, which starts now.
Walt Disney got the idea for Disneyland while watching his daughters on a merry-go-round. He began to imagine a place where all people, regardless of age or background, could have fun together. There were amusement parks already, but Walt found most of them dirty, crowded, and uninteresting. He wanted to build a safe, clean, and immersive park where families would feel like they had entered an entirely new world. And so Disneyland was born. However, Walt wasn't satisfied with building only Disneyland. He kept dreaming big and tried to make these dreams a reality. He imagined Epcot, a city of the future designed to showcase new technologies and ways of living. Although this city was never built, Walt's ideas did lead to the modern Epcot theme park in Florida. Today, Epcot inspires visitors by teaching them about science and innovation.
So we are wrapping things up with day 2 of Celebrate Happy! 70 years of Disneyland. As we know, Disneyland's kind of slogan or nickname is the happiest place on earth. So it makes sense that they're kind of titling this article Celebrate Happy, because when you think of happy, you think Disneyland.
That is absolutely true. And where did the idea of Disneyland first come from? This is one of those questions that the robot Walt might tell you, but we have a bit of information, and it's kind of interesting. It says Walt Disney got the idea for Disneyland while watching his daughters on a merry-go-round.
Oh. Okay, so I was thinking Walt Disney came up with some, it's a magical place. I didn't know it just came from a merry-go-round.
Yeah, I mean, you might think he had the cartoons, and then he was like, oh, and in 10 years we'll do this thing, and in 20 years we'll build another one. No, it just kind of came to him one day. He's at the park, or he's at an amusement park, like a more simple, old-style theme park, and his daughters are there on one of the rides. I mentioned this one yesterday as one of the rides or attractions that young kids might go on, a merry-go-round, sometimes also called a carousel. It will play kind of nice, happy music, and often little kids and maybe their parents to be safe.
Yes.
And you'll sit on a little horse and you'll go up and down and you'll go round and round. Yes. And you feel merry, you feel happy as you go round, okay? And as I said, this is something that young kids might go on.
Right.
They're too scared for the big rides, the fast rides. rides, so they try the merry-go-round. And then older kids will find the merry-go-round kind of boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a place that parents and their children will go on, ride on, and experience together. And so he's watching his daughters ride on they've had merry-go-rounds for like hundreds of years, right? So he had this idea from one of these old types of rides. And it says he began to imagine a place where all people, regardless of age or background, could have fun together.
Right, because a lot of people forget that back then that actually wasn't a very common occurrence. And unfortunately, there weren't a lot of places that accepted everyone.
That is very true. And also, like I said, maybe he knew that young kids like the merry-go-round, but old kids are bored.
Right.
Old kids need something. Their parents need something. The grandparents should be able to go and not feel like it's too loud or busy or crowded. So he kind of wanted a place where the whole family, from the youngest to the oldest, could go together and have a great time.
Right. And as we know that Walt Disney didn't invent amusement parks. As the article says, there were amusement parks already, but Walt found most of them dirty, crowded, and uninteresting. Because we have to remember back then amusement parks were for I don't want to say poor people, but they don't get to experience fun things often. But when they do, they can go to a simple amusement park.
They were simple. They would have these state fairs in the summer. They would go from town to town, so everything had to move around. Or you had like Coney Island in New York, right?
Yes.
Quite small, quite crowded. Thousands of people there on a nice summer day, so not really the most fun experience. So he kind of just wanted something more planned, more organized, something that really can help everyone have a great time.
Right, and we touched a little bit on these amusement parks and amusement rides. And amusement is something that causes happiness and fun and brings happiness. And of course, when we're talking about amusement parks, you will often find that amusement parks just want you to have a lot of fun. And as he wanted something that wasn't dirty and, was well organized, like you said. So for example, you could say watching movies is a great way to find amusement on rainy days, as you can't go outside for the amusement, so you just stay indoors and watch a movie. But Walt was thinking, you know what? I'm not inventing the amusement park, but I'm kind of going, hey, this is the way I would like to enjoy a Saturday evening with my family.
We might say today that he decided to take it to the next level, make it a little more professional and well-planned and things. And as it says, he wanted to build a safe, clean, and immersive park where families would feel like they had entered an entirely new world. And so Disneyland was born. Safe, so you can bring the kids and you don't have to worry that the rides will break or someone will, get hurt. Clean, they wanted to have a place that's very organized and clean, lots of garbage cans for, people's food and whatnot. And immersive, that's the important one here because immersive is kind of like virtual reality or a really good computer game. You feel like you're in that world. So it won't just be a ride and a ride and a ride. It'll be kind of like the whole place is telling a story. And especially for the young kids, they can go there and they can feel like they're actually in that story. That is a real castle and that is a real princess and there's Mickey Mouse and he's real too. And imagine how much that would excite people back then who've never done that before.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny， 今天要来看看华特迪士尼创建迪士尼乐园的起源。课文就提到说，华特迪士尼是在看女儿们做旋转木马的时候，萌生了建造迪士尼乐园的想法。虽然当时已经有游乐园了，可是华特发现他们大多都很肮脏、拥挤又不吸引人，他就想要打造一个安全、干净又能让人沉浸其中的乐园。好，文中的 merry-go-round 是指游乐设施旋转木马。它又称为 carousel， 而单字 amusement 它是指娱乐、消遣或者是愉悦的意思。amusement park 就可以表达游乐园。再看到 immersive， 它是形容沉浸式的或是身临其境的。这时候 Mike 老师有提到 virtual reality， 也就是 VR， 表示虚拟实境。好，那这边还有两个重点。第一个重点是主词加动词 while 加上动词 ing 的句型。while 可以表达在什么什么的时候， 那它引导的副词子句如果跟主要子句的主词相同的话，我们就可以省略掉副词子句的主词，然后把动词改为现在分词。假设这个动词是 be 动词，我们先把它改成 being， 那么 being 还可以省略，也可以保留。举例来说， Ed likes to sing while he cooks。这句可以简化成 Ed likes to sing while cooking。 Ed 喜欢一边煮菜一边唱歌。第二个重点是 find 加上受词加上受词补语，这表示发现什么处于某种状态。那动词 find 在这边表示发现发掘，而受词补语可以用现在分词 VING、过去分词 PP 或是形容词。我们这边造两个例句。第一个例句，Mary found her cat sleeping on her laptop. Mary 发现她的猫睡在她的笔电上。那这边补语我们用到了现在分词 VING， 也就是 sleeping。第二个例句 ，The little girl found her grandma asleep on the couch. 小女孩发现她阿嬷在沙发上睡着了。这时候补语我们用到了形容词 asleep。好，接着回到课文中。
All right, we are back. And it says, however,Walt wasn't satisfied with building only Disneyland. So that was the first idea that he had. And of course, he was successful with that 70 years ago. But he had other ideas, other plans, and dreams. He kept dreaming big and tried to make these dreams a reality. So Disneyland was just one of the special places he wanted to build or imagined.
Exactly. For him, nothing was too small. He figured, hey, I already got this done. Why not build more? So continuing on, he imagined Epcot, a city of the future designed to showcase new technologies and ways of living. So a lot of people know that Walt Disney was actually kind of a pioneer. He really wanted to imagine the future and he really wanted to think of a better world. And I'm assuming it's because of his daughters, his kids. He wanted to think of a place that they could grow up in.
Yeah, he was very into cars and technology. He made cartoons about rocket ships and going to the moon in the 1960s and stuff. So yeah, very into science, technology, and stuff like that. It says, although the city was never built, Walt's ideas did lead to the modern Epcot theme park in Florida. So back in the 1950s and that time, a lot of people had sort of visions of building like the perfect city for the future. And that was what it originally was. Well, that was a little bit too much of a dream, but he turned Epcot into another theme park. But as it says, today Epcot inspires visitors by teaching them about science and innovation. So Epcot is kind of the science, technology, engineering side of the Disney dream or vision. Maybe a little more interesting for older kids, right? They don't have some of the rides that the younger kids. You won't find so much Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck at Epcot, but you will find things about science, technology, space travel, and all sorts of other things. And it might inspire people as they get older, especially, and they're interested in science and related subjects. To inspire is basically to sort of give an idea to or give a dream to someone. If you're someone's hero or their role model, they look up to you and they try to do the things you do or follow the path that you have started. You might be inspired by other things. If you're an artist, maybe you see something or hear something or someone says something and it makes your idea start to create new ideas. It makes your brain start to create new ideas. It makes you use your imagination and your creativity. But basically, we're giving you that little idea that then leads to a much bigger idea. It's the spark that really, or the seed, that's a good word, that also leads to other things being created. For example, his story of success inspired others to follow their dreams.
华特并不满足于只建造迪士尼乐园，他一直怀抱远大的梦想，并努力让这些梦想成真。那他就构想了 Epcot。是一座用来展示新科技和新生活方式的未来城市。那虽然这座城市最终没有实现，可是他的想法却促成了佛罗里达州 Epcot 主题乐园的诞生。如今 Epcot 透过传授科学和创新来启发游客们。单字 inspire 它就表示启发、赋予灵感或者是激励，是个动词。介华课文中。
Well, I think Epcot is actually a really good example of maybe, he didn't get to see that futuristic city, that idealistic city that he was, kind of planning, but maybe he didn't realize that a lot of our technology these days was maybe inspired by things that they saw at Epcot.
Absolutely.
So, maybe I consider that a win.
For sure.
But we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Walt once said, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. In the 7 decades since it first opened, Disneyland has proved Walt correct. It has become larger and introduced new attractions that push the limits of creativity and technology. Disneyland really is proof that if you can dream it, you can do it.
All right, we are back from our break. We're learning more about Walt Disney and his many different dreams and hopes for the future. Of course, he wanted to build a happy place where everyone can go, and he succeeded with that, of course, with Disneyland, which opened 70 years ago. And then there was Epcot, which was kind of his dream of the perfect city of the future, a city of technology and science and stuff. And, well, that didn't become a real city, but it did become Epcot or Epcot Center, which is over in Florida. I don't think there's an Epcot in California with the Disneyland we're talking about here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But Disney World in Florida, the much bigger one, there's also Epcot there. So yeah, there's lots of different things. It's not just about cartoon characters with Disney. And we're going to get back to hear the words of the great man himself.
Right, and as we were talking about Epcot just now, well, it brings me to the article which says, Walt once said, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. So same idea with Epcot. It's kind of like, well, even though he's not going to be here to see the end product, that's because there really is no end product because life is all about change. And he says, as long as there's imagination left in the world, Disneyland's never going to be completed. And when you have imagination, you're really talking about creating an idea in your head, a new idea. You're using your creativity to think of new ways to do things, or maybe you have the imagination to think of a new character. So for example, the artist used his imagination to come up with unique ideas. And Walt definitely wasn't short of ideas. He was very much an imagination ideas guy.
That's right. I mean, now of course we have like Disney Sea. I think there's like a Disney Safari kind of African one.
California Adventure, I know. That's a new thing. Not new, but yeah. So he definitely always came up with something new.
华特曾说，迪士尼乐园永远不会完工，只要这个世界上仍然有想象力存在，它就会不断成长。Imagination 这个名词就表示想象力或是想象。那这边还有一个重点是 as long as， 在这边是引导表示条件的副词子句，意思是只要怎么样就怎么样，也可以写作 so long as。举例来说 ，The dish is easy to make。As long as you follow the recipe， 只要你按照食谱，这道菜做起来就会很简单。接回课文中。
All right, so let's get back to the article. It says, as we reach the end, in the 7 decades or 70 years since it first opened, Disneyland has proved Walt correct. Absolutely. He's brought joy and happiness to many people, young and old, and entire families. And his vision of the future is something that people continue to be inspired by and to improve on. Disneyland and the many other ones, it says it has become larger and introduced new attractions that push the limits of creativity and technology. I'm sure many of the rides and attractions using VR, AR, 4D, the ones that shoot water and shake you around.
In some ways, Epcot has meshed with Disneyland.
It kind of has in many ways. And I'm sure Walt would be most impressed with a lot of the amazing things and the creativity of the Imagineers and the different people who work at Disney today and in the future, bringing us great new rides, attractions, and visions of a future that we can all realize together. Creativity! It's all about being creative, using your imagination, coming up with new things. Scientists and engineers use creativity to make new things, make new machines that improve our lives. And of course, artists use their creativity to come up with new songs, new stories, new movies, plays, books, dances, whatever, paintings, whatever they do. If you're being inspired, if you're using your imagination and you're deciding to make something new for the world. Well done. Congratulations on your creativity. We need more of that. For example, the teacher encouraged creativity in all the students' projects. We don't want AI to do everything for us in the future.
Exactly.
Boring.
And I think Walt would not be a big ChatGPT fan.
No, probably not.
Yeah. So continuing on, Disneyland really is proof that if you can dream it, you can do it. And so we have this word proof, and it basically means a piece of evidence that proves something or is an example of something to show that it is in fact real. So for example, his hard work was proof that he cared about good grades. So it's something to show you like, hey, I'm not just saying he cared about good grades, he really can prove it. So I think Walt Disney is proof that, you know, as long as you have creative ideas, eventually you can make it happen.
课文最后提到，迪士尼乐园持续扩展，并推出突破创意与科技界限的新游乐设施。它正是只要敢梦想就能实现的证明。好，单字 creativity 它是名词，就表示创意、创造力。proof 这个名词则表示证据、证明。介华课文中。
So we have a what do you think today? We have why do you think Disneyland has become so popular?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, it would actually be really interesting to read a book of the history of Disneyland, but I think it was also the time it opened, 1950s. After World War II, America was filled with hope. More people had money, people had cars, they could drive around. And of course, people had televisions at that time. So seeing Disney on TV, still the popular movies in the theater, lots of kids around. People had extra time and money for holidays. So I think he was kind of lucky in some ways. But he also created something really popular and really original that attracted a lot of people. So I think
it's like a mixture of good timing, but also a great idea.
A great idea at the right time.
And I think it's only just going to get even more popular because now with all the different worlds that they have with Star Wars, that's going to be bringing in even maybe different people that didn't like Disney stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I personally think that all of this room left to grow for Disneyland is only just going to bring more people in. I personally am ready to go and get one of those Mickey pretzels.
Ooh, that sounds good. Can we munch on that while we're watching the parade at night?
Ooh, the 1,000,007?
The Paint the Night parade? Yeah, 1,000,006.
Oh, one went down.
One broke.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this article, this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Walt Disney got the idea for Disneyland while watching his daughters on a merry-go-round. He began to imagine a place where all people, regardless of age or background, could have fun together. There were amusement parks already, but Walt found most of them dirty, crowded, and uninteresting. He wanted to build a safe, clean, and immersive park where families would feel like they had entered an entirely new world. And so Disneyland was born. However, Walt wasn't satisfied with building only Disneyland. He kept dreaming big and tried to make these dreams a reality. He imagined Epcot, a city of the future designed to showcase new technologies and ways of living. Although this city was never built, Walt's ideas did lead to the modern Epcot theme park in Florida. Today, Epcot inspires visitors by teaching them about science and innovation. Walt once said, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. In the 7 decades since it first opened, Disneyland has proved Walt correct. It has become larger and introduced new attractions that push the limits of creativity and technology. Disneyland really is proof that if you can dream it, you can do it.
最后，我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。那单字的部分有第一个 amusement 是名词，表示娱乐、消遣或是愉悦。第二个 inspire 动词表示启发、赋予灵感或是激励。第三个 imagination 是名词，表示想象力、想象。第四个 creativity 名词，表示创意、创造力。第五个 proof 当名词，表示证据、证明。文法的部分我们学到，第一个 while 它可以表达在什么的时候，引导的副词子句如果跟主要子句的主词相同的话，那可以省略掉副词子句的主词，然后把动词改为现在分词，那就会形成主词加动词加上 while 加动词 ing 的句型。第二个我们学到 find 加受词，后面可以接形容词或者是分词 VING 或 PP 来表达发现什么，处于某种状态。那第三个我们学到 as long as 或是 so long as 来表达只要点点点就怎么样，用来引导表示条件的副词子句。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学们别走开，马上回来哦。
Anyway, that's what I said.
Winnie,
What?
you're gonna throw it in the wrong trash bin.
It's all the same.
It's not the same. One is for general waste and one is for recycling.
Oh, well, this is just a cup.
It's not just a cup, it's a cup that you can recycle.
Oh, I guess you're right.
What are some things we can recycle? Plastic bottles. Aluminum cans. And tin cans.
Huh?
So remember, no household waste in the pedestrian trash bins or else you will get fined.
And also, don't forget, follow us on Instagram and DM or email us if you have any questions about how to say something in English. Kiki, anything else you want to say?
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
And Kiwi later.